Oh, that's exciting.
Awesome. Hi, Jackie.
Hello. Are we starting?
We
Everyone?
started. We are live.
Hello,
Not
everyone.
live. Well, yeah,
What was
we
that?
are live with each other.
We're live. So this will be a recording, but we don't want to miss a month. So here we go.
Sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
It's a busy spring.
Yes.
So hello, everyone. Welcome to We Read Business Books. I'm your co-host, Jackie, with Force Realty, along with
April Blackwell, Blackwell Mortgage.
and we're broadcasting from Raleigh, Durham, where we're located. April and I created this group out of our love for reading business books and personal development books that have inspired us to grow and achieve more within our businesses and our personal lives. And we're sharing our book reviews with you. So, all of you, with the hope that you'll join in our conversation or you'll take a nugget or two that inspires you today. So, with that being said, April, this was a
Let's,
really cool book.
yeah, no, this was really good. This was recommended to us by a friend of ours in our networking group, Liz Rosilli. And Liz is totally a likable badass. And she was hyped on this, and we got on the bandwagon. And I don't always jump on bandwagons, but this one seemed, you know, worthy of my attention. And I really enjoyed this.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say the same. So it's been out there. It came out, I think it was published just this past fall. So
Yes.
it's making the rounds. It's on the circuit, if you will. And just so if someone's listening to this and doesn't really know, Likeable Badass, How Women Get the Success They Deserve, by Alison Fragale, PhD. Am I saying that right?
I'm going to say it's Fragale
Fragale.
because she does refer to her Italian roots.
Ah, okay.
And I took a little bit of like Spanish, and I want to say I'm going to kind of like this is a close cousin to Italian. I'm going to say it's Fragale.
Okay.
You got to go like this though.
Sure.
Fragale.
Sorry, Allison, if you ever see this. Anyway, so
And if you
Allison,
are watching this, Allison, and if we both have it wrong, kindly provide us a phonetic comment on the proper pronunciation of your name. Thank you.
oh my gosh, that would be so funny. Um, so Likeable Badass. I just love the title, first of all. I mean, you're like, yeah, everyone wants to be a badass, but then you're thinking about like walking down the street with like a leather jacket, riding a motorcycle.
Yeah.
And like that might not be your vibe, but
And if it is, that's
likable.
cool. Wear it. Wear
Yeah,
it like a boss.
answer is you 100%. But
Yes.
this is the deal. A lot of times people have that like a sort of a darker negative kind of connotation to a badass. So it really just depends. But by putting that little likable part in there, you're like, yeah, I do some badass shit.
Jackie.
But I am also likable.
Yes.
Just
You
like I
are
did right now.
very likable.
Absolutely. So, the author, Alison Fragale, serves as an evidence-based, oh, The Likeable Badass, by Alison Fragale, serves as an evidence-based guide for women aiming to balance assertiveness with warmth to achieve personal success. The book delves into the strategies for enhancing status and power in the workplace, offering practical advice grounded in behavioral science. So I love that part.
Yes. And what's really cool about Allison is that she used to be at, was it UNC? She
Yeah,
was
well,
a UNC professor. So she's, a North Carolina-ish author, previously claims roots here in North Carolina. And of course, she's a woman. And, we like to be able to support local authors and female authors whenever we can. Um, and just so that she it happens to be those both of those things, and has written this really great book that I think is a great guide for a woman, like maybe as early as high school graduation.
Yeah, and also I was thinking about who this book would be good for.
Yeah.
Definitely all the females that are in the workplace and also just trying to achieve more and trying to navigate people's expectations, people's, ideas or preconceived notions of who they are and wanting to break through that. But then also I read it added like anyone else too, like people that support women's rights and women in the workplace and their allies. So I found
Yes.
that even some of these, she mentions in the beginning of the book that most of the books out there are written by men and just don't have that extra you know, piece, the understanding of women in the workplace. And but there's a lot of men too, I'd have to say, that want to make sure they're inclusive and not leaning into old thoughts and behaviors and such. So I would say, and their allies. So
Yes, absolutely. So let's talk about assertiveness and warmth,
okay.
because that's really the balance that a likable badass is going to strike, and sort of like that balance in that pendulum.
Let's go back one
Sure.
further, because I think when she starts out the book, I mean that is a major major point, but she also has this, when she starts out the book, she has this power versus status.
Oh, yes. Yeah, yeah.
So she talks about this power versus status, where some people are perceived that they are in control, that you know they're the boss, they're the one in control. But then the status piece is how they're perceived by other. And I
Yes,
think
that
that
is
is
a
a
key.
really important part on what sort of trips us up in the workplace, even if we're around others that are trying to
Mhm.
navigate this, or, thinking about them, or if we're trying to navigate that ourselves. So I thought that was a real key thing. And then she goes into the framework of this
Yes.
assertiveness
Yes.
and warmth. So why don't you? So,
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm gonna speak for myself personally. When I started my career, I'm naturally a warm person. I think most women are probably designed that way. Perhaps I'm projecting a little bit. And then I got into banking, which is definitely more of a competent world, about what about efficiency, and definitely more of that assertiveness
mhm.
arena. Predominantly probably because it's man driven. Like there's a lot more men in the banking, or at least there was like 20 plus years ago when I started in banking. And I found that I lost some of my warmth in order to dial up my assertiveness.
Mm,
And it took me, down a path that I probably otherwise wouldn't have gone down if I was aware of this book then, and say, okay, it's okay to be assertive, competent, and everything, but also remember all of your interpersonal skills, your, relationship building, your kindness, and your warmth, because that's really gives you that perfect blend. And I say that because I think, and she probably mentions this in the book as well, about sometimes women are, referred to as the B word, women like in higher ranks, like they're a
mhm.
B, they're cold, and it might be like they probably didn't start off that way, but they felt
Right.
like they had to be that way in order to get to their post in life. And if you're someone who's being perceived in that kind of way, you don't have to maintain that moniker for the rest of your life. Like you can work on another aspect of your personality to earn that respect and that likability.
Yeah, so she has this little, of course, I like the graphs, right?
I
So
know.
she has the little graph here about, in she has assertiveness at the top, submissive at the bottom, to the right is warmth, and to the left is cold. So in this quadrant little graph that she has here, in the upper right is friendly strength. And that's where she says that's the likable badass territory. But, it could be coming from, if you're on the other side, cold and assertive is hostile strength. And then at the bottom, cold and submissive would be hostile weakness versus friendly weakness on the other side. So when you have that mix between friendly strength, so that's the right combination of being assertive and warm all at the same time. So it's interesting how she sort of pulled that together. And when I think of it, yeah, I mean, it made total sense that we always talk about like someone being, they have to be, a certain way at the top and whatever, but that leans them into not having that status and being able to have influence. Once you have status, you have influence others versus power and just demanding of things, right?
Right. Yeah. Power is like dominion, higher status equals higher influence. With higher influence comes impact. And
Yeah,
I think a lot of people, you know, work their way into power. I do love the stories that she shares
yes,
in
yep.
every chapter. And I love how at the end of every chapter, she has an exercise
I love that.
and a challenge for you to take one of her, her recommendations and put it into practice.
Absolutely. I thought that was a really great way to sort of pull it all together. If it was a how-to book only without the
It
stories,
would have been boring,
yeah,
dry.
it'd be
Yeah.
boring. It wouldn't really make sense, but it is impactful to hear some of the stories that she shares. So absolutely. She also talking about telling stories. A couple of the
Mhm.
other things that she mentions in here, different parts of the book. She talks about some limiting mindsets, and in
Yes.
that she talks about imposter syndrome and how
Hmm.
sometimes imposter syndrome is just a clue that you're
Yep.
raising the bar for yourself. So changing the way you think of that thought was genius.
Wait, hold on, just on that note, her little note there, like switching that mindset up of the imposter, she says, gives you a little mantra. I love my inner imposter. As long as she's with me, I know I'm reaching for the stars.
I love that.
Yes.
I love that. It was everyone talks about
Yeah.
that being such a negative thing, and she totally flipped the script on that.
She really did. She really did.
Yeah. The other parts that she also like parts of the book is telling your story, sort of tooting your own horn. We don't do that. We think that that's
Yeah.
going to be one of those icky kind of like, show off kind of behaviors, but she has suggestions and
Yeah.
talks through how to do that as a likable badass. So
Yeah.
I loved that.
Yeah, humble brags and thanking people for their contribution to helping you get to where you got. And yeah, and then I love that she at that in that chapter she has a storytelling audit, and she gives you questions to ask yourself, like, what story am I sharing about myself? And she gives, an example, like early in her career, this guy in the firm that she was working at was, always talked about really kindly and like he's doing great and he's awesome, but he was a real jerk. And so these people weren't actually working with that gentleman, but
Mhm.
they would hear about his accomplishments. And when she investigated it, she realized he was at the root of all the great stories about him. and,
It
and
was
that,
an
and now he's not an example of a likable badass, but he knew something that other people either didn't know or weren't taking advantage of, and that was the power of speaking highly of yourself.
Well, and it's interesting. Of course, she backs it up with a scientific experiment where if there was information communicated to people who were busy and they couldn't remember where it came
Yeah.
from, they still thought it was credible. They just said, "Oh, I heard this somewhere," even if it was coming from the sole, person. So that's where she sort of dug in and
Yeah.
found out that, like if no one else is going to say it, you need to. So I loved that.
Yeah. It was really good. Yeah. So speak up for yourself, advocate for yourself, you
Yeah.
know,
She also
send in a
talked about
weekly report on what you accomplished that week to your boss or your team manager. Yeah.
Yep.
Great,
Yep.
great
In there,
ideas.
she also talks about cultivating other promoters. So, of course, it always seems more powerful when it does come from someone else.
Yes.
And she has strategies on how to do this with emails. And like, I just feel like there's really practical advice in
Yeah.
here for sure.
Also, I think I'm not sure if it's in this chapter, but I picked up a tip that I've started doing immediately, and that is when I save a PDF that I need to email a client, like a proposal or any information, I put my name in the name of the PDF
Ah,
because she was talking about the importance of mere exposure.
mm,
And that just little things like that, like your email signature, the name of your PDF, and then of course, utilizing social media is like the best way to gain, lots of mere exposure. So I did at least take one tip and then
yes.
implemented it right
Yeah.
away.
She has also strategies for
Yeah.
using your out of office in a
Hmm.
strategic way, incorporating others, like so many good things. I mean, I would definitely recommend that,
Yes.
and all the other strategies, I was like, there are some other people out there that could definitely use this other than women, but definitely I feel like if you are got that job, just want to, figure out some more strategic ways of getting ahead, or at least not just allowing people to see you how you want to be seen. This was really good.
Um, are we gonna wrap it up?
Oh, it's up to you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because if we're gonna kind of like summarize it, I just was like reviewing the book, skimming through it again earlier today. And I always like to go to the conclusion section because the
Oh,
conclusion is a great summary of the reminder of what you read. But in the last paragraph, I found just so great. So when you feel overwhelmed, overlooked, or undervalued, return to the basics. Take a breath and ask yourself, what is the one thing I can do in this moment to project assertive warmth into the world?
I love that.
It was a great way to, because she says, like, listen, I've given you a lot of strategies here, lots of ideas,
Hmm.
and you can't possibly implement all of them at the same time. Pick one thing, work on that, whether it's your mindset, making tweaks, improving your storytelling, getting more exposure, helping others get what they want, like whatever it is, like pick your strategy and work on it.
Hmm.
And then, yeah, but because it can be also overwhelming, just remember that this one thing that you can always do is just you get overwhelmed with whatever it is, just pause. What can I do right now? And sometimes it just might be just telling somebody thank you for
Yeah.
helping you.
Absolutely. I love that. And this is one that I started reading with highlighter in hand, right? And then found myself wanting to keep reading it. So then I got the audio because I wanted to, then I didn't want to stop. So then I was listening to the audio and excuse me,
Bless you.
it's pollen season. Oh my gosh, my
It is pollen season.
oh,
Oh,
excuse me. But anyway, I've been listening to it and reading it. I think I would keep this one sort of handy because you pick up one strategy, do it, then incorporate another one,
yes.
and then another one, and then listening to the random chapter. I mean, you could just listen to one chapter, whatever you need at that moment.
Yeah. And resources, Jackie, I know that you kind of dig into resources. What have you found for us to stay in
So
touch
I
with Alison Fragale?
so she has a couple of videos out there. She's on a lot of different interviews. So if you wanted like another her talking about her book. But she also has this would be a great book club book. And she has a whole discussion list for if you were to read it with a group of women. There's some great questions in here to discuss. You could probably do one a week, or a couple a week maybe, along with that. So that's the one that I found that I think would be really cool to get some friends, encourage them, because at the end she talks about mentorship and paying it forward. So what wouldn't be
Yes, I do
so
love that
cool
you
to
you
just
mentioned
read
that
this book.
about.
It's an
Mhm.
easy read too. Like I felt like I was getting through it pretty fast.
It was a nice blend of research, stories,
Yeah.
opinion, personal experience. It's a very well balanced book. I started following her on Instagram. She posts
Yeah.
some great videos there, that definitely support the philosophy of the book. So find her, follow her, get the book. We
Yep.
enjoyed it. 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, too. She's also on Substack. So
Oh,
yeah,
thank you.
if
You
you
and all
want to
those
follow
modern tech tools,
Substack,
Jackie, keeping
I
me young,
all the
keeping me
newsletter,
young.
all everyone's newsletter comes to me.
I know. I don't know how I would keep up with all the newsletters you get.
I got through seasons of them, so
Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks, Jackie, for sharing your thoughts on the book with us today. And next book, next time.
next book, April, do we want to just post it at this point?
Yes, let's do Inner Excellence.
Okay, Inner Excellence. There you go.
April is National Month of Hope. Of course, it's National Homeownership Month, but one of the national months for April is National Month of Hope. And Inner Excellence is a book that was read. The coach. The reason why I found it was I watched the Super Bowl. I never watched the Super Bowl. I'm not a sports fan. I'm sorry, it's just not me. But I did watch it this time, and the coach of the Philadelphia Eagles carries this book around with him. And so the commentators were mentioning it, and I was like, of course, I'm like, what is this guy reading?
Yeah.
And so it's a mindset book, ancient traditions to help you get the best out of life. So I figured, you
Love
know
it.
what, that doves well with a national month of hope. So let's
I love
do that
it.
one.
I love the theme. Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
it's a good one.
So there you have it. We'll post it. I guess you will have maybe a link
Yes.
to it.
Yes, I'll
Okay.
go ahead and get a link. And by the way, if you buy any of these books, use the links that we post on wereadbusinessbooks.com. It will go to Amazon and we will get a small commission on each book. And that commission goes directly into our nonprofits um, account. So we're not profiting. Trust me, we're not profiting from any of this, but it goes into 1c1313.org, and then that money can go to good use to help children in our area. So we read for charity.
Yes, read for charity. Awesome. Well,
All right.
everyone, thank you so much. Thank you, April. This is
You're
fun.
welcome.
Loved this book. On to the next one.
On to the next one. Bye. Have a happy Thursday.